Hello my lovely Floss Tube friends. If you're watching this video, you're going to be one of three people. The first person is going to be a beginner stitcher, and when I say a beginner stitcher, anyone that's either never picked up a needle, has no idea how to do it, but would like to try, or you might have dabbled in it and not got very far. The second person is going to be someone who is probably more than capable of doing stitching, but is looking to attempt their first ever full coverage, wants a few tips and a little pointer in direction of how I do mine. And the third person is going to be the person that's done a full coverage, has done plenty of stitching, and is just here to, for the ride. So if you are one of those three people, then you are in the right place. So these are going to be little mini series. So it's going to be bite-sized chunks. We're going to do a bit of a stitch with me. So just for background, I am by far not an overly experienced stitcher. However, I do have experience of being a new stitcher who wanted to do cross stitch, wanted to give it a go, and found that the kits that you can buy that make it so that it's like, oh yeah, let's try something new. Oh no, I know. Here's one. Dimensions kit. This is where these are the kits that you pick up in the shops, in the stores. Oh yeah, want to try your hand at cross stitch? Comes with these great instructions. Yeah, look at those people. So for the beginner stitcher, you know what I'm talking about. When it starts saying things like cross stitch, little diagram, half stitch, little diagram, back stitch, little diagram, French knots. You don't need to be doing all that. Trust me, I tried. Here's my failed attempt. First ever cross stitch, 5 years ago. Look at it. It's got masking tape around the edges. It's this tiny little blot. And as for the threads that it came with, it came in a ball of threads that I had to sort myself. Now, bearing in mind, I'd never done anything. I was clueless. I had no idea what I was doing. I tried, I failed miserably until I found full coverage. That's right. Now, everyone was going to sit there and say, oh no one starts their first cross stitch as a full coverage. Guess what, people? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Here's mine. This is my first ever cross stitch piece. Admittedly, in hindsight, I probably should have picked something that was marginally smaller, but the principles were the same. This little bad boy is a full coverage. Yes, it does require needle, thread and fabric. However, other than knowing how to do a cross, and maybe if you're interested in parking threads, which by no means do you have to, if you are interested in being able to create something like this when you've never done any type of stitching in your life, then keep watching because I can show you how. And trust me, I can show you how because I was that new person. I was that new person that just could not get on with the so-called starter kits. They're not starter kits. They're kits for people that know what they're talking about, or have got a mum or an auntie or a nan that can give you a pointer in the right direction. Yes, we do have Floss Tube, hello community. We do have cross stitching on YouTube. You can do a bit of research, but at no point is there a one-stop shop. Look at a video and you find out exactly how you do everything when it comes to these kits. And I'm sorry, but if you're a new stitcher and you've never tackled a chart in itself, I couldn't believe how hard it was just to count more than 10. And as for counting diagonally up to find where you need to be for your next bit, no. Full coverage, you don't have that. Full coverage, the most you're going to count is to 10. 10 across, 10 down. Job done. That is the most you're ever going to do. The only other thing you're going to do is little X's. Couldn't get much simpler than that. So, without further ado, we're going to show you how you can be creative, do some cross stitch and do full coverage as a beginner. So where do you start, I hear you say? I was in exactly the same boat. Full coverage charts you can get from various places. You know, you've got Tilt and Craft, you've got Heaven and Earth Design, you've got Pain Free Crafts, I believe it is. There are a number of them. However, my advice, says the girl that started with one that was probably, well, it's not probably, was much bigger than it should have been for a beginner, would be to start with one size which is called a Story Keep. Now, I'm going to sit here and advertise Heaven and Earth Design because they're the ones that I've used and they're the ones that I do use. And that is the one that I'm going to do with you. So the one that I've picked from the Heaven and Earth Design website is a Story Keep called Life is an Open Book in Paris. It's artwork by Amy Stewart. Here's a little picture of what it will look like. As you can see, it's small. However, I say it's small. It's 4.5 inches wide by 13.25 inches tall on a 25 count fabric. We'll get to that in a minute. It also still contains 89 colours. So, this isn't going to be this big, thankfully. But it still will be a full coverage. So once you can complete one of these, the world is your oyster, people. So the first thing to do is decide on a chart of your choice. I will stress this, I couldn't stress it enough. Find a chart that shouts at you. It has to scream at you. It has to be like, wow, look at that. Because even though these are really quite small, they're time consuming. They are time consuming because you're going to be stitching on the same thing for quite a while. I say quite a while, it depends on how fast, once you get going, how fast you go. But you need to love it because it's not a quick project. It's not going to be 1 month and, oh, I've stitched it, it's done. It's not going to be that fast. But then stitching isn't about fast. You know, it's about the actual stitching. It's not about, yes, we love the finishes, but it takes as long as it takes to get there. It's not a race. So yes, my advice to you is keep it small. If you're going to do your first ever full coverage, don't go with a monster sized full coverage. That's not what anyone wants. You'll get marginally into it and be like, ah, because you know it's going to go on for so long. Keep it small, people. Keep it to a Story Keep size. It's very manageable. You won't get overwhelmed by it. And like I say, much, much simpler than your counted cross stitch kits that you can buy out of your local Hobby Lobby or Hobby Craft, where it's like, oh yeah, let's try a new thing. So what are you going to need? Let's run through what you're going to need. So first of all, you're going to need your chart, which I'm going to put a little video in about here to show you how I got mine. Okay, here we are on the Heaven and Earth Design webpage. I'll put a link in the video below so that you've got it. There are places on this website where you can go and look at things like charts by artist, new releases. They're all very, very good. However, it's very difficult to scroll through these and find the Story Keep sizes. Yes, you can see all the artists and you can see all their artwork, but predominantly these are all much, much bigger charts. So the easiest way for you to get to a pre-made Story Keep is to go up into the toolbar at the top and just type in Story Keep and click on the search button. On here you'll notice that there's fabrics that are at Story Keep size. For now, I would advise you not to look at the fabrics. There's a video further in this series to talk about the fabric sizing and the type of fabric that you choose. So for now, I would say don't look at purchasing that until you've watched that video. If you then want to come back and order it from here, then of course you can. But please don't just go ahead and buy some standard fabric, because it will make life a little bit more tricky for you in the actual stitching. As you can see, there are lots of different sizes and different, I mean, this one you would think, oh, that's strange, because it goes across the page, but it's still a Story Keep size. So as you can see, you can click on the image so that you can see it stitched up, you can see it bigger. It gives you a lot more detail in here. So obviously finished size is 450 wide and it's 132 high. So top to bottom is 132 and it's 450 stitches long. That makes it 18 inches wide by 5¼ inches tall on a 25 count fabric. So please note, all of the information regarding its actual sizing is based on 25 count fabric. And like I said, there's an upcoming video further in this series to talk to you about the fabrics. So before you go ahead, please make sure that you're aware of the fabric situation. This one, it also shows you it contains 87 colours. And the beauty of the Heaven and Earth Design website is that before you even stitch it or order it or purchase it, you can go into the floss usage chart, and here you'll see that it will give you a bit more information. So you've got up here obviously about what the pattern is, who's the designer, the company, the copyrights, the fabric that they suggest. So this is a linen 25 count in white, 450 stitches wide by 132 stitches high. And again, they're reiterating that that is a 25 count fabric, and the total size, the design stitch finish size, would be 18 inches wide by 5¼ inches in height. If you come down to this section, you will see all of these little squares represent the colour. The symbol here is what you will see on the chart, and they recommend 2 strands of floss. That's not to say you have to. Again, there is a video further down in this series where we talk about the number of strands against the size of fabric that you choose. All of the colours that you will use will be DMC. This is the colour number, so if you already decide that's what you want, you could go off and purchase all of the colours that you want, and obviously it gives you a colour here. When you scroll through this little list, you'll get to another page which will say usage summary. So again, you do need to be mindful when you're looking at the usage summary of what size fabric you actually use will dictate how many skeins of floss that you will require to purchase. So for reference, again, it gives you the same detail about the colour, corresponding colour. It tells you it's a DMC and it tells you the number. And here you will see it says full, and you'll have all this data in here. You'll note that there's no half stitches, no quarter stitches, no petite stitches, no nothing but cross stitches. So full crosses, that's all you're going to be having. And then if you look right over to the side over here, it says skein est. Well, that's actually the skein estimate. So this will tell you roughly how many skeins they think you need for a 25 count fabric if you're stitching 2 strands. So they're saying, so for that colour there, which is 032, there's 1,291 stitches in that colour, so they're saying you'll need 1 skein. And you can quickly sift through there, and as you can see, there's one here if I highlight this one. So 818 is 8,070 stitches, and they're estimating with 2 strands of floss you will need 3 skeins of that colour. Again here you will need 5 skeins of that colour. But honestly, to get you started and get going, you could just buy 1 skein of every colour and you'll know that you've got enough there to get you going and get started. And then you could always see how your floss usage is going, and as you get closer towards the end of a skein, you could quite easily order another one of those colours. So it gives you lots of information to actually pick your design. So you'll see here that it is basically saying the same thing. You've got your title, it says starting price at $19 US. Now when I click on this drop down, there is a drop down, you just can't see it. It gives you 4 options. So this is your method of delivery for your chart. So the first option is this option. So download PDF, regular chart format, $19 US. That is the version I pick, but then I download mine to a PDF reader, GoodNotes, and I actually work electronically and mark it on an electronic chart. If you have that ability or you have that functionality, then that is an option. The other reason that you could potentially want to have a downloaded PDF version is because you might just want to print it yourself. If you're going to do that, and it's not because you're using it electronically, my suggestion would be go for the next one, which is the download PDF large chart format. It is $21 US, but it's charted large. So if you're going to be printing and downloading that yourself, it will make it so that the symbols on the chart will be larger. The next option you've got is a hard copy version, which is a regular chart at $23 US, which can be sent out as a hard copy direct from Heaven and Earth Design. So if you're a paper person and you prefer a pen and paper or a highlighter and paper or a pencil and paper, this is the charts for you. Again, I personally, if you're going to be working off of a paper chart that's being supplied for you, I would definitely go with the large format chart. It is $25 US, but it will be a hard copy that arrives in the post, and it will have the symbols on it that are slightly larger. So once you get to this point, you need to make a decision of what one you want. I personally am going to pick the download PDF version and add it to the cart. As you can see, it's successfully added. Go up to the shopping cart at the top here. And again, it will tell you on there that if you're buying this as a downloadable chart, please make sure you have Adobe Reader installed, because you will need something to be able to do it with. You'll see your chart in there. It will tell you how much it's going to cost. You can go to checkout. At this point, it's asking you to acknowledge the terms and conditions to the order by ticking on the box. It gives you your details here of your billing details. If you're new to the website, it will ask you to infill all of this detail in for you. And again, down here, it confirms your total shipping price. If you're having it delivered, it will put in a shipping delivery. And down here, you have your payment options. So you've got payment options, which you can do by a credit card or switch card, or you've got a PayPal option. They do a layaway payment. Again, I don't think you really need that at this stage. You just need to get it ordered and get it either delivered or downloaded. On the download, you will receive an email with the download in it. Also, if you go into your account, once it's in your account, you will actually be able to download it from the account as well. So that is how you get your chart of Heaven and Earth Design. So now you can see how easy it is to get a chart. I know what you're thinking. It can't be this easy. It really, really is. So what are we going to do now? So now I'm going to break this down into bite-sized chunk videos for you. So these videos are going to be tiny, tiny little videos that are going to help you out with all the bits and pieces that you need to get yourself to the position that we can start stitching. These things are going to include things like fabric choice, how to decide what fabric you need, decide how you're going to kit your project up. You know, there's lots of things that you're going to need for your kitting of your project, and how you're going to store that thread. We're going to need to know, are you going to use, a frame or something to hold the fabric so that you can just sit and stitch? If, like me, you want to learn, I did, if you want to learn from the start how to use a parking technique when you're doing a full coverage, which basically means that instead of doing a few stitches, ending the thread and then reloading the needle, which is really quite time consuming, on the full coverage pieces you can do something called parking, which is basically where you stitch in your 10 by 10 block, and then underneath you find that colour and you park the thread. You basically just put it in park and it sits there until you get to the next square, and then you just pick the thread up and you start stitching that colour again. It's not rocket science. It's not overly hard or complicated. I personally learned how to park from the start because I learned with the full coverage. So because I learned that way, I've always parked. I know that there are people that do full coverage that just cannot get on with parking. Once you get your head around it with what works in your own mind and your own head of how you systematically do it, It's super easy, but I will show you how I do it. So there we go, people. So if you're still interested in doing a full coverage, she says, nearly dropping it on the floor. If you're interested in doing a full coverage as a beginner and you really don't know where to start, I can help, because I've been there. I know how hard it is, especially since I had absolutely no knowledge of stitching before. So if this mini series sounds like the sort of thing that you're looking for, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. If you hit the little bell, the notification bell, each one of these little mini series that pops up, you will get notified. Put it in your watch later list or your keeps, and then that way you can always refer back to them. So I will see you in the next video where we're going to decide what is your fabric of choice. So until next time, bye bye for now.